Suppose you're walking on the street, you see some money lying on the ground, let's say 1,000 rupees, and there's no one around. What are your options? What will you do?
I think I will do either of the two things. One thing is, first I will, take that money home and advertise in FMs and televisions, or I think
For
that.
1,000 rupees.
No, no, but yeah, it doesn't. It is not that costly to advertise in local FM. They do it for free. If they can give news or publish it in a local newspaper, I think, or maybe I can make a post in social media. That is something I can do. Or the second option is to contribute it to some public fund, of some public organization or the government.
What if you are low on cash and you are actually in need of money, but then you found the money?
I don't know. Maybe if I was in real need, then and if no one was around, I would take the money. Maybe I would also make effort to return the money by making some posts, and social medias.
Okay, what if you are in need of money, but you see someone um, standing around the place where you found the money? Would you still take the money, or would you ask the person if that money is theirs?
I have no option but to ask that person, but I would really not ask that person. I would sit there for a while and watch his activities if he really lost the money, if that money really belongs to him. But whatever, how, if even if I'm in very high need of money, and if I found some money and I think it belongs to some other person, if there is a chance that it belongs to a person nearby, then I would really not take it, unless an emergency, of course.
That's a very good answer. I was bothered by this question before. If I dropped my money when I was walking and someone saw the money fall out of my pocket and they decided to hand me over the money. Now, how would you thank that person? Would you give money to the person as a thank you, or would you just say thank you and move on?
Okay, to that question, what I've been doing until now is, you know, paying some incentives, a certain portion of the money that they return to me. But I don't think that is the correct thing to do, because, their motivation is to return the money, and if we incentivize them with some amount, I think that would break the whole cycle of their motivation to return the money at all.
Hello, everyone. This is your host Deepistrest, and you are listening to the Decade Podcast. Today we have Kshitij Kunwar with us. He is a dear friend of mine. We have been friends for more than 7 years now, or 8 years. Like it's been so long. Welcome to the podcast, Kshitij.
Thank you.
In this episode of the Decade Podcast, we are going to talk on topics such as this. We'll just roam around. We don't have any fixed topic, so I mean, घुमेको घुमे हुन्छ कुनै कुनै टपिकमा, and we'll try to make this conversation interesting. We might talk about the philosophy of life, what the life means to different person, of money, how it has come to change um, our inner self, let's say, and how the world, different parts, different topics on the world. So let's keep on
Talking.
talking about this topic.
Well, okay.
Yeah, first, if you have any thoughts, anything at all you have to say, you can just let it out.
We get so much of topic and so much of idea, and we go in so much depth when we are not, structurally recording something like this. Since we're recording this, our mind is completely blank right now, but when you and I have normal conversations, we get lots of ideas to talk about, and lots of arguments. That's what is in my mind right now.
Yeah, I'd like to share something with you about this as well. Like, most of the people ask me why I do not put videos on this podcast. And like I tried to, when I was recording the first episode of this podcast with Nang Tran, we were actually deciding to record the visual as well as the audio. But then we found out that when we are recording the video, we were actually self-aware of what we are doing rather than what we are saying. Like we were thinking about how to posture ourselves better, which angle would look better, and if I have one if there's a better lighting on my face or not. And then the conversation starts to get a little bit dull. So then we decided to record the audio rather than the video. And I guess after 3 episodes, I can say that audio is still better than video.
Yeah, because we are working on the idea, and we want to let idea come as much as possible. And if we begin to record video, then we might our focus might shift to something else.
Let's go back to money. If there was no money around, would people still act the way they are acting right now? Would the rich people would still act such with such generosity if they didn't have the money, or would the poor still would act kind if they had more money?
Okay, first I can really see a bias here. You were saying that the rich are not kind and the poor are, in a relative sense. I don't think that is true, because there are people who are both rich and kind, and there are people who are poor and still not so kind. You know. The second thing is, would there be people like, on the two ends, like where one is one whom we consider good and the other one is bad? If there was no money at all, of course there would be, because then if there was no money, we would still have something else of value. Right now we value money, but then sometimes in history we have valued some other things than money, like we have valued beauty, we have valued music, you know such kinds of things. And there will be someone possessing the thing of value more than the other, then there will be some differences among them, of course, that will act always. That's what I believe. Okay, I just want to tell about a thought that I got this morning. Last time when I came to your place, just to get your opinion and what would you think, I had told you that I'd given up not eating meat, but that is not something true. You know, I've been, you know, so influenced by your idea of veganism. You know, and I'm going to be a vegan, for the rest of my life. There's no question about it. Even you cannot change it. Even I cannot change it. Nobody can change it, because it's so firmly fixed. The idea of veganism and how we are doing good to our health, ourselves, also to the environment, and also to the people. You know, uh, and I think since I believe that I'm doing something productive, something good, this is keeping me vegan still, till that. And another thing is that when I went to the meat shop this morning, I don't consume meat, but then for the people that I live with, I have to go to the market. I have to do that. That is not an option. Okay, that's something compulsory. And when I went to the shop, there were the flesh of animals lying on the shop. Chickens and muttons. Okay, um, and when I saw those flesh, I was, uh, what a normal person was think was that was such a lovely piece of flesh to consume. It would look so nice on a frying pan and in our plates afterwards. But what I was thinking was that that flesh is similar to ours. That animal must have suffered a lot when it was killed, and people have lost this idea that animal are also just like us, and they also feel pain. And they've completely lost this idea that when they see flesh, they see it as food, not as anything else, just as food. And that's the problem right now, I think. But our perspective has changed. It's just not a matter of perspective only. Our perspective is we think superior, better, more, you know con conscious. We are more conscious, we know what the product really is. It's not food, it's neither good for our health. And last time I'd seen somewhere, if the carcass has to be, raised to the temperature of 200 degrees Celsius, then defeathered, and then cooked for you, you know so much of processing has to be done with the flesh of the animals for you to consume it. And that too, when it is in your plate, you have to chop it with your, knives and different other things, and afterwards you chew, only chew. What a carnivore would do is, so different. And now I got the perfect answer to someone who says that we human are born carnivore. You know, that is when someone will put that idea, that would so seem so ridiculous to me. Also, we have proofs, like rather evidence that the difference in the anatomy of the intestines and, our digestive systems and all. Yeah, so I've seen these things. So
Uh, to put it out there, you are revealing me that you are you have been vegan in this podcast. So you haven't said me before this.
Well, I was
Okay.
lying to you that I gave up meat and all just to see your opinion. And what you said was, I thought you would leave, and that that made me angry a little. But I kept on laughing when you said that, giving you a smile. I just wanted to know your opinion, how much you believed me. Just that.
You have no people who are listening to this. You have no idea how much I am glad that you have gone vegan. Like to that point when I said that I didn't have any
Yeah.
much hope that you would go vegan is because of the fact that because of the experience I have felt around my friend circle and my family circle. Because loss, like it's easier to talk about veganism with an stranger, and they would take you seriously, they will consider about this topic. But to friends and families, it is very difficult to just talk about it, and they would take it seriously.
Mm. Yes.
I think one of the reason is because they know you personally, so
Yeah.
they will just make it a joke, or just create a humor out of it rather than taking it seriously. So that's one of the reason I do not put so much hope on my
Nearby.
yeah my friends or even my family going vegan in short period of time. But I'm really glad that you gone vegan.
Yeah, I'm thinking of even going forward, like in terms of diet. Um, I came to know about plant-based diet recently, and what a person,
Whole food
yeah,
plant-based diet.
whole food. If possible, I would like to go there. They consume some legumes and whole food or grain, and they don't even consume oils, right? They don't.
I'm not sure what you are talking about. Like veganism is a plant based food diet
Yeah, but
lifestyle.
vegans also
So
consume. Um, I would just we can also consume oils, but plant-based diet is a little more than that. I would show you a picture here. Yeah, I got it.
so
Yeah,
are you talking about not being cooked as well?
yeah, kind of. That would be lovely if we could maintain such a diet.
Whole food plant based diet.
Yeah.
Okay, so according to the image users, so there are vegan diet who consume oil, processed foods, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Plant-based diet consumes the same thing, and whole food plant-based diet do not consume oil or highly processed foods. So they consume whole grains, fruit, vegetables, and legumes. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, what made me think about it is, even vegan consume highly processed food, They, if it comes from plants, they don't care, But I think I even have a problem with processed food, as there is loss of energy that the original food, whole grain could supply to us. So, I would like to, if possible, switch, and I'm trying to go there. But I know in a Nepalese society we use still oil every day.
Yeah, it's difficult to, I won't say impossible, but it's difficult to remove oil completely from our life. Just the way that even it is very difficult to remove palm oil from our life, from our food system as well, because everything contains palm oil, right? So just like that, in Nepalese society, everything contains oil whenever you're cooking. And but I think you can do it, because once you put your mind to it, once you cover the facts where how you can replace the things you want to get rid of, then it's quite easy.
Okay. Another reason that I want to adopt this diet pattern is because I heard, a person who was talking about the mind and the body relationship. How our mind controls our body, and how body acts according to the mind. You know, she was saying that ancient rishis who were in meditations, they consume diet of this kind, like plant-based whole food, whole part, diet. And uh, they have, enormous memory power and mental abilities, and with the consumption of highly processed foods and other kinds foods, that doesn't come directly primarily from the nature, we have lose our mental capacity. For example, 100 year ago, she gave example of her grandfather. Remember, he was a ba, he was a ba, and he remember what poems and what stories he learned in grade 7. If he was given the name of a poem, and you would say where he learned it, in which grade he learned it, or you could list the poems and stories that he learned in grade 4 3, but even if we try to remember what we ate last Friday for the dinner, we have a hard time remembering. So mental capacity has decreased because of the um, kind of the food that we are consuming right now, because what she believed is the content of our mind. Mind, according to her, is a flow of thoughts. It's not the brain, it's the flow of thought. And the content of the brain is provided, the material of the mind is provided by the food that we eat. That is its content, and that what makes it up. So the kind of food that we consume shapes our perspective, thinking, the thoughts that we possess. Yeah, that idea was very influential to me.
In some parts, I think the way we are in this era where there's digital technology, there's storage to store our information data, I think that is one of the reason our remembering capacity is degrading. But what you just said is interesting as well, like what we put inside our body, what we put in the mind,
Yeah.
yeah, your thoughts, that also shapes how you function as a
Yes.
whole being, right? And there are other examples where people have done impossible things
Yes.
because of the just because of their thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, all the Guinness World Record breaker, the fastest runner, or maybe the world's heaviest weightlifter, the world's longest swimmer, and those people, like, they are pushing the limits of human capabilities because of their thought process, and because of their training as well. But as a normal person, we would have never gone that far if we can't make up our mind that we can do it. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, you are making sense. And the I don't know if she was a runner, but she a vegan, won a Guinness World Record for some physical activity.
In 2019, there's a woman doing the longest plank.
Yes.
Yeah, she held the Guinness World Record.
So the concept that vegan diet is doesn't make you physically productive or physically fit. It's just it's not the that's not the thing. We have been put this idea by a lot of factors, big companies maybe, and the industries, but uh, that's not even true.
Have you watched the Game Changers?
I have not watched anything.
Okay, it is one of the best documentaries out there that you could watch. Shown it to so many non-vegan friends, and even they are amazed by what vegan diet can do. How the documentary focuses on the high achieving athletes, the world's strongest man, the world's best F1 car racer, all the top best, and how they are on a plant-based diet. And they even do some small experiments on vegans and non-vegans and how their diet can affect their body physically in certain time period. Like just in 48 hours you can see physical difference on how your body processes your food. So those kind of things, it's an amazing documentary. We should watch it later.
I think, yeah, yeah, you may be right, but it is not. It might not be correct to draw conclusion on the basis of few top athletes, but we should see resources that have larger sample sizes, that consider more people, vegan and non-vegan, categorize them and do randomized control trials and other things. But I know it is also logical to draw conclusions because we have so many top vegan athletes and all.
One of the biggest research done on this diet and our life expectancy was the China study, which was done by thousands, I don't know, which was done by hundreds of physicians.
100 is 10,000.
Okay, they went to different parts of China and they stayed there for 20 years.
Yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah, 20 years, and they studied different food habits and tried to relate with the life expectancy of people. And they found that whole food plant-based diet, those people who consume whole food plant-based diet has a higher chances of living. The people in Japan are said to have the highest life expectancy, and most of the people in Japan consumes plant-based food, and they consume less of the
Meat products.
animal product. Yeah, because they only eat animal products during certain celebration or certain festivals. So those kind of thing. But in Western culture, they are consuming animal products every single day, and that's what's causing the top three killers of humans: diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease.
Yeah.
So which, yeah, just to put in perspective, which do not happen to any carnivore. Carnivore doesn't get heart attack, carnivore doesn't get diabetes. But since our body is not adapted to the animal products, it reacts negatively to putting animal products in our body.
Yeah. I think everyone is concerned about their health. They would be willing to spend millions of dollars or all of their wealth, in curing the diseases like cancer and cardiovascular diseases if they get one. But because many people do not know that the risk factors for cancers and cardiovascular diseases is the many animal products like meat and eggs. Uh, it's the information is simply not in their reach. They don't know that meat causes it. Okay, although this idea is popular nowadays, that's the thing that's preventing them. And another thing is because people already developed habit, it's harder for them to change their diet pattern, because most people do not see the long term future. They won't be saying that I would get cancers in the maybe after 10 years, so I would just skip meat today or skip meat from now. They just, it's so hard for them to make such choices, because of our nature. We discount the future but see the present. We want to get things in the present right now. And another thing that I always get trouble with it is people say, okay, I agree that meat is bad for you and you don't consume meat, but what is the problem with milk? Even the rishis and others, they drank cow's milk and did things. And I had a hard time answering them because I had no answer. But I knew milk was also not that good. And you mentioned of lots of resources. Well, I have not sourced and found one, but you said that we believe that, and
Do you mean
back
that
since,
you haven't sourced,
yeah,
or
I'm not.
you sourced or and didn't found any reason?
Well, I did not source, and but I have studied lots of researches in lots of researches, showing the potential of milk in making the bone stronger and osteoporosis, all those, but when I tell people that milk, in fact, is a risk factor for early onset of osteoporosis, it's hard for them to believe. It was hard for me to believe as well. I think I don't understand the reason. If that is so, why it is concealed right now? Why it isn't so popular. Even our government, is promoting milk, even for the pregnant mothers and others, for the general population. And even eggs, eggs and meat, eggs also, as you said, have a lot of negative risk factors
Yeah, yeah.
for health.
When we are looking at any of the research paper, and before concluding anything, what we have to see is who are sponsoring the research. So
Financing it.
yeah, yeah. And most of the research paper who say that milk is good for our bones, or animal products, anything, eggs are good for our health, those kind of research are funded by those industries. Like milk industry is funding the milk related research papers, and egg industry is funding the egg related research papers. And then we have to ask that, can we really trust those research papers? Because if they are funding the research, then they don't want negative impact, they don't want to show negative impact of their own products, right? And the industry is really really big, even inside Nepal. So I don't know if you have heard it, few days or weeks ago, the price of chicken and eggs
Yeah, it's
have,
risen
yeah,
up
yeah,
to
it's gone up.
200.
And it was because uh, the hatchery industry, the egg industry, and the chicken industry, they killed so many of chickens and they destroyed so many of eggs
For
because the price was so low. The price was low, so they kill the chickens,
to
and
maintain the price.
yeah, to rise the price, yeah.
Raise the
And
price.
yeah, and now one egg is 14 rupees, I think. And it's become so expensive, and 1 kilogram of chicken is 412, I
Yes.
think, yeah,
Yes.
or around that price range. So the industry is controlling what's being going, what we are being taught. And that's why even in our schools it's been taught that milk is good for our body, and
Yeah,
yeah, meat
that's
is good
so
for our
surprising.
body, yeah.
Okay, one thing about research papers is, we highly trust, and even our policies, our government policies are shaped on basis of researches. But what troubles me is, okay, suppose I'm a researcher, okay, and I publish some report, okay, and whatever I write, there is no way, people are verifying it other than researching, okay. They suppose I put my methodologies, and I set up some data, I could, for example, in the case of milk, I could produce both kind of data in my research. I actually went to the field and performed data collection and did everything, but when I analyze it, I can change the data and do anything, or I can, um, you know change the data altogether, to the way I like it, okay, and I publish the report, and there is no way of verifying that, the data are not changed from the time of data collection to an analyzing process. So when you talked about the financing of the researchers from the related company to maintain their market, I think that's what is being done, because there is no way to verify it other than re-researching, and re-researching also requires financing, and for cases like that, other people are not interested in researching upon the effect of milk. They're busy in other things, or rather they don't have finances for those. And when those researches are financed by you know those kind of industry, then only such kinds of researches will prevail, and policies would shape that way.
We've diverted so much from what we've discussed. We say that the topic will be about life and its existence and everything, but we diverted to veganism.
Because
But it's an
veganism is our life right now, you know.
it's an interesting I didn't want to bring this topic of veganism in this podcast with you because
You
like
thought I was not one.
yeah, it is not something that I want to try something different now, but I'm glad that we talked about veganism. And just to let you know, Kshitij is a public health student and he's been studying it for a few years. I think it's going to be over now soon.
Yeah, it's my last year that's running.
We will continue this discussion in the next episode as well.
Of course, well.
So yeah, stay tuned for the next thing. Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.